Hi guys, I'm just getting to editing this making a template video, and I can see now that it's probably pretty difficult for you guys to see the lines I'm drawing, so yeah, sorry about that. I probably should have used a black marker so you could see what was going on, but yeah, we ain't doing the do-overs, so I hope you can use a bit of imagination. It gives you the general idea, and yep, into it. Hi guys, hope everyone's okay. Hope you can see me and this is all alright. This is a bit of an awkward setup. I'm going to try and do my best to show you guys how I like to make up a template for a surfboard, obviously. This is a pretty old school way of doing it and it's very basic, but I really love doing it this way, and it's a good way of establishing a fairly good system that ends up in a fairly clean curve usually, because you're kind of limited to how squirrely your lines can get by the way I do it. So you don't need most of the equipment, or even all, or even most of the equipment I've got here. I've kind of got a head start, so I've got like a tail template that I want to use, and a nose and a general outline template that I want to make, and I've also got some figures. So it's very possible to do the template from start to finish this way. It just really helps if you've got like the first 12 inches and the last 12 inches. So yeah, don't be scared to sort of draw those or do those a different way, or maybe just go wander down the local surfboard shop. As long as they're not too snarly with you, you can probably turn up with the back of a cornflake packet, stick it on the back of a nose you like, and stick it on the back of a tail you like, just for, just as a random. I mean, technically it's not great because you kind of are copying a bit of a board, but realistically it's all been done before and you're never going to come out with a completely unique template. You can use this curving system to make your own nose and tail if you want, and it's extremely easy if you're doing like a fish, a diamond, or a square tail. It just gets a bit harder when you get into the realms of like round tails or complex steps or double bumps or something. I mean, personally, you could draw these up on CAD systems and print the nose and tail out first and stuff like that, but realistically you've probably got a board in the garage that you like the nose of, or the nose and tail of, so you can develop a lot of it yourself. It just really gives you a head start if you've got the nose and tail. So all we've got here, obviously we've got a couple of templates. This is my 6.0 fish template, like a bit more of a sort of semi-retro fish, and this is a step tail off a twin and trailer board, and I kind of want to marry the two together. This is a 6.0. I've got a set of figures in my head, and I'm going to hopefully come out with a 510 that's a bit of a blend of this and this, and even if this first off becomes a basis to tidy it up more or change it, that's fine. So I'll just put these to the side, and what we've got here is I've got a piece of plywood. That's just going to allow me to bang some nails into it. So this is just a piece of card. It can be, I've done it with brown paper before. You don't need to be too super flash. So this is a piece of card on here. I'm going to line that up to the cut edge of the chipboard. Line that up all the way down, and the kind of premise is this is I've got some numbers in mind as well. I'm trying to aim for, I use these as a range, but I'm trying to aim for a 16-inch nose, 5'10" long, 16-inch nose, about 21 5/8 in the middle ish, and around 16 and a half in the tail. And we're looking to make that about 2 3/4 and get like a 39-ish litre board out of it. So yeah, I've got those figures in my head. The first steps that I'll do will be marking out the 12 inches up from the tail. I'll mark the length out. I'll mark 12 inches up from the tail. I'll mark 12 inches back from the nose, and I'll mark a center point and an offset from the center point and a few little marks around there basically. So I'll end up with my nose width, my overall width, taking into account how far forward or back I want the wide part of the board, and a tail width. So that'll be 12 inches up from the tail, 12 inches back from the nose, and I usually tend to do the center point and the wide point. Most of my shapes are generally wide point forward because we have pretty weak waves around here, so just I like that paddling area forward, and suits me. So yeah, and the premise of how we do this to get the clean curve is what we'll do is we'll mark our markers out, and then we're going to stick a bunch of nails in, and then we're going to use a semi-flexible bar, which this is a piece of aluminium like 2 or 3 mil, so it's got like a limited flex. not ideal, but you can do it with a piece of MDF, or that's probably better for when you get into noses and stuff where you want more flex. You could probably achieve the same thing with maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 mil piece of wood would do the same thing. And it just allows you to, like, because you're going to have a limited bend on there, it allows you to blend the curve nicely. So I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit because I've already got a lot of templates. I could cheat more if I wanted to, but I want to get the middle curve really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the tail and the nose, and I'm going to dotted line this tail, and I'm going to dotted line that nose, and I'll probably dotted line the curve in between, and then I'll nail those off, and I'll proceed to make a clean blend between this nose and that tail using this method of marking out and pinning down. So that's basically the principles of what I'm going to do. I'll probably have to do a few little wee steps of this and do a few edits, so yeah, bear with me and I hope you enjoy this. Okay, so I've chucked some lines down already just to save a bit of time, and so get a square to get square from the edge of the cut edge on the chipboard, so we know it's good and square. And tape measure, I've got inches and got imperial and metric on there, and basically a straight bar. Don't really need that, but it helps. So what I tend to do is I tend to put the lines I want on with the square, and I'll just dash them, and then I'll follow up with the line and just allow that to take it further, because we need a bit longer for half the template. So what we've got on here at the minute is we have, this will be the tail of the board, this will be the nose of the board, 5 feet 10, so 72 inches is 6 feet. You can work that out, obviously your inches times 12, your feet times 12 is your inches. So 6 foot was 72 minus 2, 5, 10. We want 12 inches back from the nose, 12 inches up from the tail. Line there, line there. If this is quick or anything, just you can play around, pause the video, watch back again, it's fine. I've got my center, my true center here, which is not where I'm going to put the wide point, because this is going to be a wide point forward board. So we've got 12 inches up from the tail, the true middle. I've got here 2, 3, 4 inches up from the middle. I'm going to try with the 3 inches up from the middle first and see how that looks, and then we've got 5'10" length and 12 inches back from there. Okay, and then on top of that we want to mark out our widths. So we wanted 16 in the nose, so that would be 8 inches there. If you wanted to work that back into metric, you would have 16 inches times 25.4 is 406 millimeters rounded up. Then the center line here, I've got one at 21 and 5/8. And then in the tail, I'm going to put one in at, we wanted 16 and a half, so that'll be what, 8 1/4, 16.5 divided by 2. Yep, 8 1/4. So let's go a mark in there at 8 1/4. Okay, so that's got my, I hope you can see some of those lines. So that's got my key points laid out on the board. Now, if I had no templates whatsoever, this would probably be a bit different, and I would be trying to basically nail off this point, and this point, and I'd get that center curve, and then I'd probably have to change the bar to use like the more flexible bar to get a good shape on the nose. So as I say, it's a lot easier if you've got a nose and a tail template already there. So what I'm going to do next, I might just pause up and do this and then just come back again, but basically I'm going to put the tail on here, and I'm going to line the template of the tail up to my mark, and I'm going to dotted line around there to give me a guide, and then I'm going to put the whole nose section of this fish on the nose line, and the 16, where were we, the nose line there, the 16 line there, and ideally get it to match up somewhere to the middle. I think that middle line I actually got wrong, so I'm going to double check that. So as you can see, like, this shape was already quite close to there, so you can see my dots there are pretty close to lining up with the template. I'm sure I've made a boo-boo in that middle, but that's all right, I'll check that. And I'm going to dotted line that as well, so I'll come back once I've done that. And then we're going to use the aluminium bar and some pinning to blend between. So I'm going to use this nose and the tail as a guide basically, and then it'll allow me to develop a clean curve between those. Okay, so you can see I've got my dash line outline from the step tail, I've got my dash line nose from the fish, and I've kind of drawn the rest of the line and got a bit overlapped and a bit mixed up here. I actually I'm probably going to push the tail out a bit to meet this line that was coming in here, but this is just to give me an idea. You'll see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 at the minute, and 1, 2, 3 on the back nails. So I've chucked those nails in, and what this allows me to do is basically to stick. So there's the middle line, and I'm going to work to the inside of this line, sorry, so you guys might not be able to see all that. So there's the inside, there's the tail. Get in there. There we go. Okay, so if I'm happy with my width and my wide point position, and I'm happy with my tail, what I'm basically looking to do now is to drag this curve round. I don't have to go crazy, but I want to drag this curve round so it starts to meet with the curve of the nose that I've already put in there. And you can go like really crazy and try and bend it all the way to it, but I try and go like 6 inches away, or you know, even a bit further up sometimes, and just kind of allow it to sit somewhere near where you want it. I'm probably actually gonna stick some more nails in there once I get somewhere near, but this kind of allows me to, you're probably going to get a better view of this than me to see how well I'm matching my curve here as well, which is quite interesting. So like, let's put that there. So we've got all that weighed down. Excuse me. So you can see we've got all that weighed down there. Obviously you're not going to get this really tight curve of the nose, but that's given me a kind of good idea. Usually like to stand up and have a look at it from a wee way away. I was hoping to create, yeah, that's not too bad. I think the tail's still, I was looking to create quite a fairly parallel section in there, because we're not making this a super long board. I think that's sort of looking all right though, so I might just play around with some of these and then dash them out. So again, you can put the tail on again, just offer it up and see what that's looking like, and if there's a big mix in the curve or a bit too much of a tweak or a bend. As I say, I've moved this out to meet quite a lot, and this is a bit misleading, because actually I templated this. I really should have cut more of this off, because this bit of the curve here is like kind of misleading. So that actually doesn't match up too bad there in a minute. And what have we got on the nose? It's kind of hard to sort of separate. Yeah, there we go. So the nose is looking pretty good, and to be fair, I wanted this fish tail to pull in more than it was, so I think that nose is actually decent. So we're looking, I might just pin that out a little bit more. Where's my nails? Just gonna pin that down. And the other good thing about these is, what I'll do usually is I'll make the template up in the card and then cut it in card, and then I'll transfer that onto like an MDF usually. So when I transfer it onto the MDF, you can kind of clean it up. You can kind of clean it up to suit, if that makes sense. I'm just going to pin that out a little bit more. You've probably got a great view of this. I wonder if it actually looks like really messed up or anything from your end. You'd see more than me if I'd got it like really messed up or too parallel or too round or something anywhere. I'm thinking sort of like this. This tail blend's a hard one. Kind of pulls in quite a lot, the tail, hey? Sort of wondering if I can get away with that, or whether I need to let the tail out more. It's going to be mainly a twin and trailer, so I don't want to go crazy on the tail, and I've already got the width about in where I want it. So I might actually scribble it up and see how it's looking, and then maybe just play around with the tail, because I'm fairly happy with this nose part, unless I move the wide point a bit further back, but it probably is anyway by default. Okay, let's just scribble this on and see what it looks like. Okay, so what I'll do is, once this goes on, I'll offer the templates back up to it again, and then fully finish that nose and tail. And then if it still looks a little bit weird or a little bit wonky when I finish the template, I would leave it wide, like slightly wide on the MDF, and then I can trim that to suit and flow again. So when you put it back down onto the MDF, if you do leave any wobbles, which you don't want to do anyway, you want a super clean curve. If you end up with any wobbles, you can basically fix those wobbles up. And this is sort of still looking a little bit pulled in at the tail to me at the minute. I might try and let that out a little bit more. So again, you can stop at any point you want, and you can just pull this off, and then you can look at it, and then you can start again, or you can, even if you want to pull the nails back out, or I might pull a couple of these nails out and let the tail out again. So I'll just stop there, and I'm going to have a good look at it myself from a bit higher up, and then we'll make a couple of changes. Okay, so that was just looking a little bit wrong in a couple of places at the back, so I've actually let the tail out a bit more to meet this curve, because the idea is to get a nice blended smooth curve. I did want to kind of parallel it up a bit more, a bit in this middle section, so I think it's not too bad. It's probably, you probably get a good look from on the camera there, so hopefully I haven't done a terrible job since I'm videoing this one, but you know, that's the basic principle. You can see I might even pull this step back across a little bit. It's kind of like the width is about where I want here, but we could probably take some more area back out of the tail quite possibly. So I might just clean that up when I cut the template out. But that's basically the principle. It's very simple. If you can get a nose and a tail, and then once you've got a few templates together and you've made them like this in the MDF, you know, you can just have a play around. Say this was designed to be a twin and trailer, but we're talking about twin and two trailers and a twin and trailer as options. So you'll probably end up with the sides will be in further than a thruster and back further than a thruster. So it's that MR style of twin and trailer. And what I'll probably do, it's for a friend, so if he wants to go that way, we'll probably look at putting a quartet style like the Neil Purchase Jr. does, and put some back trailers like a bit further up and a little bit out onto the rail, and then we'll also have a normal like trailer in the back. So I might even play around, and you can always mark out and label up your fin positions on this template, and then you can see what they look like, and then you can play with them again when you've got the template out on the board. But obviously by the time you've done this and cleaned this up onto MDF, and then you've done the MDF and cleaned that up and put it onto the board, and then you put it onto the board and cleaned it up, your curve is gonna, if you did get any little wobbles, hopefully you get rid of them. Say I'm by no means anything like a pro, but that's your basic principles. You just cut that piece of card out, and then when you're ready, if you like it and you like the look of it, you can put that card down on an MDF and mark it out. If you're not happy with it, like I say, this is for a friend, so it could be a case that we cut this out and then we might start again, and we might put the card down again, and we might dotted line this together, and we might let out or in a few bits that he's not happy with. So, you know, if you've got that second person with you, you can really refine the curve. I've done this before with people to make boards for friends, so you know, imagine the service of going through that with a friend and then working with you to get the shape that they want, and you being able to offer this up onto a board that they've got and say, oh, I really like that, but you know, I've got this board that I love, I want it with a bit less nose, but I want something different in the tail, and you can work together. One of the better boards I did quite early on, I did that with a friend, and we did like 4 or 5 of these and offered them up onto the board, and then when we got to the one where he's like, yep, that's what I want, then you make your nice template and you've got that forever. I enjoy doing this bit, so I've quite often done, like, as I see, a lot of my boards are like basically complete one-offs. So yeah, so I might just tweak that tail in a bit, but that's basically it. I'll cut it out, and then I might just do a quick fit photo or a couple of videos of it done out, but that's it. That's the principle. Like I say, then this goes on to some whatever you've got, whatever you want, like 3mm MDF's all right. Some people get them cut out. I don't know if I do that myself, but some people get them cut on perspex if you were doing the digital side of it, or acrylic. You might want to, if you're pretty eco, you might want to put it back onto some plywood rather than MDF. You could get some slightly thinner plywood. You might just have something knocking around, whatever you like. I mean, this would be good enough if you just backyard cheaper. This would almost be good enough to put on the board, but it does help if you put it onto MDF and clean up, because you see, you'll probably see, like, you know, I'm sure this curve probably might already look cleaner than that one, who knows, but yep. So there we go. I did just take the tail in a little bit. When we put it onto the MDF, I might even knock this step down a little bit more, just to take a bit more out of the tail. I might see how it looks and see how the fin setup looks. It's a bit more pulled in than here. I was going to leave it quite chunky, but I think that's pretty good overall. So I've just cut it out. I just left a little gap there so you can see from the camera, hopefully, what it looks like. I don't think that's too bad. Might be a couple of spots that could be a little bit more curvy, but it's always really hard to tell. Like I say, when you chuck it onto the MDF, you can sort of feel those curves as you sand it clean. Yep, I don't know, looks pretty all right to me. Right, thanks guys.